My policy assignment is going to discuss proposed legislation that could have an impact on the agency where my volunteer work was done. This agency was called the Austin Street Center. It's a homeless shelter serving the South Dallas community. Austin Street's mission is to provide safe shelter and meet the basic needs of the most vulnerable homeless. But they do provide additional services to target those populations. Some of those services are to help gain employment and provide transportation to existing employment, medical health and respite care, mental health care, substance use treatment, homeless diversion services, and housing-focused case management. While they are there to help meet the basic needs of the homeless population, they also provide a lot of services to help those people gain their own stable housing. On June 21st, 2023, Representative Maxine Waters from California introduced two pieces of legislation into the United States Congress. One of these bills was the Ending Homelessness Act of 2023, which is House Resolution 4232. This legislation would end homelessness and significantly reduce poverty in America by transforming the Housing Choice Voucher Program into a federal entitlement so that every household who qualifies for the assistance would receive it. This bill would also ban housing discrimination based on the source of income and veteran status. The Housing Choice Voucher Program was formerly called Section 8, and it's often unattainable to the majority of people who need it. The wait lists can be several years long, and it isn't really a viable option that leads towards obtaining stable housing. Those that can obtain the vouchers often still struggle to find housing due to the unavailability of affordable housing. This problem could be addressed with the second piece of legislation introduced by Representative Waters, which is the Housing Crisis Response Act of 2023. This legislation would provide more than $150 billion in fair and affordable housing investments, and would be the single largest investment in affordable housing in our nation's history. These funds would create nearly 1.4 million affordable and accessible homes and help nearly 300,000 households afford their rent and address the racial wealth gap through the first ever national investment in home ownership for first-time, first-generation home buyers. Both of these pieces of legislation have the ability to largely impact the population served by the Austin Street Center. The center does a great job at providing access to the services that are already existing, but qualifying for those services is often really difficult. And even once they are able to access the housing choice vouchers, it isn't beneficial if there's no affordable housing available. These two proposed bills would take away the years-long wait for the program and would make it possible for everyone who needs the service to qualify for it. The addition of the increased affordable housing would give them a place to use those vouchers, and combined, both of the bills would make the possibility of obtaining stable housing much more accessible. The Ending Homelessness Act has since been referred to the Committee on Financial Services and to the Committee on the Judiciary, and the Housing Crisis Response Act has been referred to the Committee on Appropriations and the Committee on Financial Services. But neither bill has yet to progress in the legislative process. Its progression is dependent on the actions of the Speaker of the House, and with the 118th Congress quickly approaching its end, both of the bills are set to die at the stage that they're currently at. However, Representative Waters was reelected to the 119th Congress, so there is potential for both of these bills to be reintroduced in the coming session. Assuming that both of these bills are reintroduced, an appropriate next step would be to contact your congressional representatives and ask them to co-sponsor the bills. The number of co-sponsors on a piece of legislation can be significantly influential in its progression and chances of success. The progression of legislation is largely in the hands of the Speaker of the House, and with a significant amount of co-sponsors to a bill, especially if those co-sponsors show bipartisan support, it's more likely that the legislation will progress past the committee hearing stage and increase the likelihood of it becoming law.